Hi everyone, my name is Parth and I'm back with another video tutorial. This video tutorial will talk about the concept of functions and the different types of built-in functions we have in SQL. So let's begin. The agenda of this tutorial would be we will understand what is a function, what is the use of functions, where can we use functions in our queries, what are different types of functions, which are string functions, numeric functions, string or number conversion functions, group functions, date and time functions, and finally, date conversion functions. So what is a function? Function is nothing but it's a piece of code or a piece of program that does some manipulation on the data we give it to it and return us some value back. So it's basically nothing but a SQL query or a set of SQL statements or queries that perform a specific function or a specific task. So instead of writing the SQL query again and again, we can basically create a function for that and we can just call that function wherever it is required. So which basically makes it query optimizable and fast performance. Function accepts input in the form of parameters and it returns back a value. SQL Server and other SQL, you can say softwares like MySQL and others, they come up with a built-in functions. They have some predefined functions inside them that perform some specific tasks. We can use functions in our SQL queries. Like you can see here in the select query, we are using a upper function, select upper name from students. So this upper is a predefined function in SQL Server and name is the column name from this table students. We have one more example as you can see in the where condition. The second example which says select star from students where substring. So you see that we are using a substring function here, right? And this is also one of the function provided to us by SQL Server. Next comes the types of functions. So if we talk about the different types of functions, we have basically broadly classified the predefined functions provided by SQL into 6 categories: string functions, numeric functions, string and number conversion functions, group functions, date and time functions, and finally we have date conversion functions. On the right side, you can see that these functions are basically of two types. So we have single row functions and we have multiple row or known as group functions. So if you see these single row functions like string functions or date time functions or general conversion functions or numeric functions or character, they perform operations on a single row at a time. Whereas group functions specifically, like you see here, some max, average, minimum, count, they basically perform operation on multiple rows together. It starts with the string functions. So string functions are those functions which do manipulation on string data in SQL. So first is the lower function. So lower function basically converts all the alphabets or letters of a string into lowercase. You can see the example. Next is upper function. It's the reverse of lower function. This function converts all the letters from lowercase to uppercase. As you can see, small AMAR is converted to big AMAR, AMR. Next is in string. So this function is used if you want to find some string from inside a string, right? A string value, let's say we want to extract some string value from within a string. To find that, we use the instr function. So instr function takes it basically takes four parameters: string, find, position, occurrence. So string and find, these are required parameters or mandatory. Position and occurrence are optional parameters. So the first example you can see, we are passing the string Amar and we're finding AR. So A is at which position? Third position. So we'll get the output as 3. In the second example, we are also passing the position and the occurrence. And we want to find A in the string Amar. So A basically is located on position 1 and 3 both. But we are passing the occurrence as 2. So second occurrence of letter A it will find, which is at position 3. So it will give the output as 3. Next is length. So this is a very simple function which is used to find the length of a string. So let's say we want to find the length of the string Amar. So it will return 4 because it has 4 characters. Next is lpad. So it's basically the left padding function. So basically it is used if you want to add a string to existing string on its left. So here string and length are required parameters, and the path string which or the string which you want to add to its left is optional. So the first example, we are adding 10 spaces. So by default, if we don't give any value for the path string, it will take it as blank. In the second example, we are passing a value of dash. So it will append 6 dashes before Amar because the total length we are giving is 10 in the function. rpad or right padding. This function is the opposite of lpad. It basically adds or appends string to its right. So it's the opposite of left padding. Next is ltrim. As the name suggests, it is used to trim out the string from the left. So you see, we are passing a string Amar with the spaces on the left. So when we apply this function, it will remove the spaces from the left of the string. rtrim. Rtrim is the opposite of ltrim. It removes or trims the spaces or trims the string from the right of it. So when you are passing Amar followed by some spaces inside this rtrim function, it will remove the spaces from the right side of the string and will return the string Amar. Next is substr or substring. So this is a function which is used to take out a string from a string. Okay. So here string and position are the required parameters and the number is a optional parameter. So the first example, we are passing string Amar and 3. So it will go to position 3, which is small a, and it will extract all the characters from that position. So the output will be AR. In the next example, we are also specifying the number. So it will again go to the third position, a, small a, and since we want only one character, because we have given the value of number as 1, it will only take the small a as the substring value and will give it as the output. After string, we have numeric functions. So numeric functions are those which are basically perform manipulation on the numbers. So first is absolute or ABS. So it basically gives us back the absolute value of a number. So you can see when we apply absolute to a negative integer, we get the positive value of it. Next is mod. So mod basically is used to get the remainder. So you can see in the example, we dividing 4 by 2, so the remainder will be 0. Next is power. So this function is used to get the exponential value to sum of to a number, right? So we are passing here 2 and 2. So 2 is the value, the second 2 is the exponent. So 2 to the power 2 equals to 4. So that is our output. Next is round. So round is a function which basically rounds the value to its decimal places. So first, you can in the example, we have a decimal value 20.6, and we are passing that how many decimal we want after the point 0. So it will round it to its nearest integer, which is 21. Next is ceil or ceiling function. It will basically use to round the function, round the value or the numeric value to its next next upwards. Okay, next value upwards. So you can see 20.6 we are passing. So we are getting 21. But when we pass negative, it will do the reverse. So it will round it to 20. Floor or flooring function. This is the opposite of ceiling function. It rounds the value of the number downwards. So when we pass 20.6, so it will make it 20. But if you put negative sign, it will do the reverse. So it will round up it up to 21. Next is square root or SQRT. So when you want to find the square root of a number, you use this function. So you can see square root of 36, which is 6, and square root of 81, which is 9. Next is string or number conversion functions. So there are some scenarios in which we want to convert string to number or number to string, right? So first is toChar. So this is a function which is used to convert a numeric value into a string format. So you can see we are passing in the first example a number 100.11 and you want it in a string format $999.9. So we will get the output $100.1. Second example is 100.11 to 999. So we'll get the output as 100 as a form of a string. Second is to number. That's the opposite of toChar. So if you want to convert string into number, use to number. So you see we are passing a string 100.11 and we want the number output in the format 999.9. So we'll get the output in the number as 100.1. Next is not a number. So or not a number or valid number. Here it will replace the value if that value is not a number. So the first example you see Amar is a string. It's not a number. So it will replace Amar by 15 and we'll get the output as 15. Whereas in the second example, 10 is a number. So it will not replace 10 with 15. So we'll get the output as 10. Next category is group functions. So group functions, they operate on multiple rules, as I mentioned earlier. First is count. So if you want to count number of rows from a table, you use the count function. So you can see count star from orders. So let's say orders is a table. Star means it will find us all the, it will basically take all the columns together and then it will give us a count of that. Second is count of a specific column name, customer ID from this table. And we are putting a where condition as well. Next is max. So if you want to find the maximum value in a particular column in a table, we use max. So you see we are finding the max from students, which is 99. And then we are using that in our query, select student underscore name from students, where marks is equal to maximum of marks. Min, min is the opposite of max. So if you want to find the minimum value in a column, you use the min function. Next is sum. So let's say you have a column in a table, let's say quantity, and you want to calculate the sum for all those orders, basically the quantity of those orders. So you can use sum function. So you can see select sum of quantity from orders where the customer ID is equal to 7. Next is average. So if you want to find the average of some particular column in a table, you use average function. So you can see here we are using average on a column rent from country where we are passing the city ID equal to 1. So it will give us the average value of the rent in that particular country. Next category is date and time functions. So in this category, the first one is current date or current time or sys date or now. So they all are same. They all basically return the current date or time. Next is add days or add months or add years. So if you want to add some future days or months or years or a previous, or you want to subtract some days, months or years by passing a negative value, you can use this functions. Next is months between. So if you want to find the number of months between two dates, so you can use months between. So the example you can see, we are passing two dates. One is 2nd of August 2003 and 2nd of June 2003. So we'll get the output as 2 because we have 2 months between these two dates. Last is sys timestamp or timestamp or timestamp. So these all are the same. They basically return the current date and time in the form of a timestamp. Next category is date conversion functions. So sometimes we have a scenario where you want to convert string to date or date to string. For that, we use date conversion functions. First in this category is toChar. So if you want to convert date into a string format, we use this. So we are passing now. So which will give us the current date, and we are want the date in this string format, dd-mm-yyyy. So we're getting the output. Next is the opposite of toChar, which is toDate. So if you want to convert string into a date using the format specified, you can use toDate. So in this example, you can see we are passing a string value and we want the date in yyyy/mm/dd. So it will give us the date in that particular format. So that was all from my end. I hope you might have gathered some basic knowledge about the concept of functions. What are functions? Why to use them? Where to use them? On what different types of functions, predefined functions given by SQL Server. So that is it from my end. I will see you in next video very soon. Thank you.